Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. It is Friday and you know what this means. It is time for iTie at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's right. iTie is Indie Time Interview Edition, which is a show that I do on a weekly basis where I interview video game indie developers. And today I have a very special guest all the way from Chichester, England. So, it's going to be a pretty interesting conversation, a pretty interesting games also. But before we do that, let me just show you guys what tie that I'm wearing today. I think that I'm wearing my tie with the fanciest material, and it's a pretty cool one. It's very dark, but when you have the reflection, it's like all the awesome controllers. There's some retro ones. There's some newer ones. I think there's like a Switch controller in there, PlayStation 4. Very cool tie. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this one. But now, without further ado, let us introduce the developer of a series of games called Welcome to Chichester. But today we're mainly going to be talking about their latest game, which is Relentless Protagonist. All right, so let's go ahead and welcome our guest, who is Nicholas Kingsley. How are you doing, my friend?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and we had a little bit of a conversation before the stream, and I'm very excited to talk about the game. That's an issue with me. I always ask questions before the stream, and then I already know everything. But yeah, let's go ahead and start some questions because I really want to know even more about the game. So first of all, why don't you introduce yourself for people who doesn't know you?
Yes, I'm Nicholas Kingsley. I've been programming probably since, soon after the Commodore 64 came out. I started writing various games and so on, right up to the time I was in university. And then I started doing more serious stuff. And then it's 10 years working for a software company. Didn't really do much in the way of gaming then. But when I left that, I started writing my own games, really. It was mainly collectible sort of things, really. And then I got bored with that and started writing visual novels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's where your interest came into making some of these visual novels.
Yes, it actually stemmed from playing probably a visual novel on Android, really. At least 5-6 years ago now.
That's crazy.
And
which one is it?
My neighbour was in the Yandere.
Oh wow!
I also read Memento as well. That's more of a serious one.
Interesting.
And it stemmed from there. Thought I could do it as well.
Very nice. So, your interest in visual novel basically transferred to you making games. There's a lot of Commodore 64 fans actually in my community, so I'm sure that they're pretty exciting hearing from that. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully, maybe someday you'll make a Commodore 64 visual novel. I think my followers would enjoy that.
Yes, I would like to see that, really. I have been asking around to see if anyone would sort of be willing to do something, but I haven't heard anything about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, you'll need to find the underground crew who enjoys the Commodore 64.
Yes.
So, we've learned about you, how you got into gaming, started as a programmer, and then went into creating games. For me, I started as a programmer and never left that, but I always wanted, to switch into creating games, but it just didn't came there. But it's so cool to seeing people like yourself, decide to do that approach and make those games. So today we're actually here to talk about, your big series of games. I think you've made other series, but your main focus one is WTC, which means Welcome to Chichester. So yeah, we're here to talk about your latest game, but I would like first to talk about the whole series as a whole that you've built. Can you let us know how many games are in the WTC series?
Well, there's the sort of test program I did. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
There's a lot.
Yeah. 6 for the main story, 3 OVNs, and 3 side stories. So it's about 9 or so altogether.
That's crazy. And that's in the
Yeah.
course of how many years?
It's 4 years now.
4 years. That's
It is, yeah.
crazy. For 9 games in 4 years.
Yeah.
And for the people who don't know, what is a OVN compared to like a side story and a main story?
The OVN is just completely independent of the main story, where anything can happen really. It's anything and everything can happen. Is completely silly, really.
So it's like non-canon and
Non-canon.
people who like don't know the series, they can jump on these games without knowing anything, and they'd be able to understand.
Yeah, so it's more or less, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so I've played the latest game, but I'm kind of curious. Can you give us like a summary of what the series is about without spoiling too much?
Yeah, essentially it's secret organizations. One set really wants to take over the world, whilst the other are trying to stop them. The unfortunate thing about it is the main baddies, so to speak, are her daughter is the leader of the daughter knows the one of the people who are trying to stop them. Due to various things that happen more or less early in the series, and the daughter, who's Grendel Jinx,
Grendel Jinx,
yeah, she's trying to get the protagonist to join her. The protagonist is trying to get her to leave, and then her mother gets involved as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story, and I like the setup because I guess different games you can there's probably going to be like different missions that, on every games, and it just helps expanding the whole story. And Grendel is just she's crazy. I think that anybody who would have to partner up with her, I think they'd have to find a way to just get rid of her, because she's insane.
Yeah, she's megalomaniacal kleptomaniac, which doesn't help.
Yeah, I like the description. I love it. So if someone would like to start from the very beginning, what is the order that you would recommend to play the whole series?
Well, technically, it is WTC 1, and then WTC 2 Part 1, and then WTC 2 Part 2. Technically, they couldn't jump to Part 3. There is a demo already out, but as that hasn't really been finished, it'll probably be worth going on to the side stories next. Yeah. The OVNs can be read in any order, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's easier than I thought, because all you have to do is follow these numbers, right? 1, 2, Part 1, Part 2, and then continue. And then the side stories are just on their own, and you can be done.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So, having so many games, and in the course of 4 years, there must have been some fans out there who are very much invested in the series, right? Like it's a very big story now. So, what type of feedback do you usually receive from the fans? Like what do they say after finishing the story?
They do like the comedic aspect mainly, and quite a few dislike Grendel, which isn't really surprising, I suppose.
Yeah, like I wonder if they dislike her, like in like as if they're like the protagonist and they dislike her in that way, right? Or they actually don't like her and don't want her in the game anymore.
Well, quite a few people want to kill her off.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So I've just switched the scene. So right now, what you guys are seeing is the updated trailer of the latest game, and you're actually seeing a scene with Grendel Jinx, so you can see exactly how she is, and yeah, she can be very distasteful.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she's just in it for herself, really.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
she's just so she's all very lazy and will get anyone else to do any sort of work for her.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, she also have a lot of money, right? Well,
Yeah,
and
she makes Elon Musk look like a peasant.
yeah, exactly. Like if she doesn't like something, she'll just pay them to to do
Yeah,
whatever she wants. I love it.
yeah,
In the intro of the latest game, she paid a radio channel to be to be working for her, and
yeah,
it's not a spoiler. It's like in the beginning of the game, and she basically paid them to play the same song for 24 hours straight. Like that's how crazy she is. Yeah, and
yeah. She's very very much into herself.
yeah, exactly. So when you create these games, what kind of process do you go through? So do you start by creating the script and then the graphics, or what kind of process do you do to create these games?
Well, usually I have spend a fair while thinking about ideas and so forth, and then I sometimes scripts the story, but most of the time I just write it as write and code it at the same time. So
Oh,
yeah, I shouldn't do really, but it's how I work.
mhm.
And everything progresses sort of naturally, really.
That's really interesting.
It's really-
Um,
Uh, if I do script it, I tend to only use it as a sort of guide. So when I am actually coding everything, a lot of it does change as I go along.
yeah, I guess that's an issue. But a good thing is that while doing it that way, you actually can make them probably a little bit faster. But I can see an
Mm.
issue where if if a story doesn't match up at the beginning of the game, then you have to like go back and change like every places where you talk about this section, or I can imagine. I don't know if it actually happened, but it's definitely an interesting
Yeah,
process.
yeah. There can be problems with continuity, especially over the other episodes. But I hope I've sort of solved it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of which, you've really mentioned that the script of some of the older games are outdated.
Yeah.
Is there like a chance that eventually you'll go revisit these games and either make some improvements or even do like a remake of the older games?
Well, I'd like to rewrite the first two at some point, really. At the moment, the first one has got a few really nasty bits in that I would like to get rid of, mainly to do with people who are supposed to be working for the council. Um, and as for the second one, it's a bit too comedic, really. A lot of
Oh,
that could be removed.
interesting. So
Yeah.
basically, you kind of like learn how to make like a more fleshed out story, and you would just like the older ones to be more reflecting to what you've learned from
That's Yeah, that's right. It'd be basically more or less the same sort of thing as the current episodes, really.
okay.
So it's still keep the comedic aspect, but to be a bit more serious in places, really.
Out of curiosity, which game is your favorite one so far, and why?
um, yeah, I must admit I quite like the third OVN. That's very funny. It's a body swapping episode, and they find a secret BDSM dungeon in the hotel.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah, I do like that one. Oh, and there's also a talking kettle as well.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I need to play that. That sounds pretty interesting. Oh my gosh. Um yeah, I'll definitely check it out and see
Yeah,
what it's about. So, guys, the whole series once in a while goes on special on Steam, and you can buy all 9 games for just about like in the $30 Canadian. So you get all the games. I think you get all the DLCs also, but it's super cheap. So keep a lookout if you wanna, if you wanna try the games when they go on sale. They're extremely cheap. All right, so yeah, we've talked a little bit about the whole series, but now let's talk about your latest game, which is WTC. Like I said, which means Welcome to Chichester. Relentless Protagonist brackets SxS and SxS, and I think I'm gonna ask what this means, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But can you tell us a little bit about what this specific game is about?
Yes. Essentially, the protagonist and Grendel are forced to work together to stop another organization from launching a weapon that's on this remote island. And due to various problems, they find themselves stuck on the island and having to work their way out. And along the way, various people get killed.
Oh boy, this does not sound good. I know at the beginning of the oh geez, I'm having a hard time here. Sec. I know that at the beginning of the episode is very comedic, right? And we talked before in the behind the scene. You mentioned that it's not going to be too as comedic later on in the game. So I'm interested to see what you mean by that.
Yeah, I try to use the comedic aspect as a sort of way of keeping people off. So they don't really know what's going to happen. Keep them wrong-footed, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so when things do happen, it's a bit of a shock.
Interesting. So there's some things that I might not expect. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll need to keep on playing. So where in the story does Relentless Protagonist takes place? So does it happen like after part 2, after part 1, or like where is it situated?
Essentially, it's situated in the middle of part 3, which I haven't released yet, unfortunately. I was thinking of delaying this one and then doing the main story, but I decided to get this one out of the way first. So it's essentially in the middle of part 3, which at the time Grendel's mother's divorced due to various reasons, and various things in the Phoenix Custodian have made life difficult for the protagonist and things like that.
So we're kind of getting like a hint, some hints of what the third game will be. So by playing this one, maybe when we play the 3, we'll understand a little bit more where Relentless Protagonist comes to place.
Yes, right. Yes. The third one also sort of mentions this as well, and so it should tie out rather nicely when eventually I hope I get it released.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how the protagonist's parents got kidnapped. There has to be a good reason. But there are some flashbacks in the game that kind of explains that. But still, I'd love to see like this more fleshed out for sure.
Yes, the protagonist's parents are very rich as well. So
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, they go on the Fanopoly world circuit, earning money by playing really weird board games.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, the protagonist's father is a trickster. I think he's gonna trick Grendel's mother into some stuff, but I haven't gone too far, so I don't know what's gonna happen next. But I'm kind of intrigued. So for someone who hasn't played the other games, would they still be able to follow the story on this one, or is it better if we play the other ones before?
I hope hope you can follow the story if you haven't played any others. I tried to put in enough information to make sure you can without slowing everything down. So far, people have managed to follow the story okay, so I think I've done well there.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Well, I only played 1 hour so far, but so far, I'm not lost in the story. All characters, I understand, their history, I guess, in a way. But yeah, I feel like it so far with the 1 hour I've played, I'm not lost into anything, so that's really good. So at the start of the game, you can select your protagonist to be a boy or a girl, or you can even select an option where you can rotate between the two of them. So can you talk a little bit about these options and how you implemented it in the game?
Yes, it actually originally came about from my proofreader for the previous episode. She felt that she would prefer to play it as her own gender, really, and rather than a male, as I had originally set everything up to be. So I had to put in a menu choice for that and modify various dialogue to take into account the different genders as well.
Was it difficult to do two protagonists at the same time? Was it a challenge?
Some of the new dialogue was mainly for the female part, of course, having to sort of change thought processes and things like that. But on the whole, it wasn't too bad, really, because both male and female protagonists more or less think and act alike. So in that regard, it wasn't too bad.
Nice. I took the male protagonist. I felt like he fit it more with the story, without knowing anything about the previous of the series. But I guess I was right. I guess it's this one that fits in the story because of the past. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And how did you implement the third option where you can rotate between the two during the story?
It's actually a random choice at the start. That's all it does. It just randomly chooses female and female.
Oh, I see.
That's it. Yeah.
Interesting. That's good. For people who doesn't know who to decide, they can just pick that option and.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So a visual novel is an interesting game. Is it like an interesting genre because you basically just read and that's all you do. You read, but a lot of visual novels actually have some tools to just to make it more useful if you for people who needs accessibility and stuff. So can you talk a little bit about the tools that you've implemented in your game, like quick save and things like that?
Oh yeah, so I got quick save, quick load, the standard load and save. You've also got a history as well. So if you skip the dialogue, you can always have a quick reread at up to a certain point. I do make sure that when you choose an option, you can't go back. Mainly because I don't want people trying to cheat and work out a sort of best way of getting around things.
I like that.
So if you choose the wrong option, then you're stuck with it.
Nice. So there are some choose your own adventure in the game. I actually wasn't aware of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good that you can do that because that way you don't you'll have to like start the game all over again if you want to make another decision.
That's right.
That's good. I think all modern games should honestly have like a history of text because you can always miss some of these texts, right? So it's always a good feature to have.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's very useful indeed.
Yeah, exactly. So the game came out in September last year, so it's been a while, but there's been updates to the game as late as February, so last month. What kind of fixes have you done to the game since its release?
It's mainly, I think there's a bit of spell checking, a few grammatical errors I fixed. I've also added in a fair bit of dialogue for a new character that you can possibly meet right through the game. The X class president that is mentioned early on in the game, and you actually get to meet him and talk a
Oh,
bit.
I think I know
So
what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, and find out. Well, he doesn't appreciate Grendel just mucking around with the position, really.
Oh man, yeah, I can imagine. So that's good. Spell checks and all that. It's nice that you go back, and make sure that the game is polished to the
Yeah,
max.
I hope to do another update soon. I'd like to replace some of the CG graphics. I'm mainly waiting really to get a bit further on my current one, so that will be along probably later in the year at some
Ah,
point.
interesting. I'll keep a lookout for that update.
Yeah.
So I've looked it up, and the game has a total of 60 achievements. So
Yes,
it's quite a lot. So can you talk a little bit about what kind of achievements you can unlock in the game?
Well, the most obvious one is starting a new game.
Oh, wow.
The other, yeah. And then you get one for choosing a non-default name. So if you use completely different one to what you originally start with, and then of course you get all the other achievements for choosing various paths and various things like that.
So I
It's
already failed at getting all the achievements because I did not rename the main guy.
oh, well, you can always restart at some point
Yeah,
and get it later.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So there's yeah, there's I think there's one for each of the different paths, and if you come across various classrooms, things like that.
So there are replayability for the achievements.
That's right. Yes,
Cool.
it's what I like to put in. So you visit different storylines and things like that. Really.
Nice. So, like it's because it's a choose your own adventure. Do you decide there's a lot of game that follow. So, do you decide of a timeline that's canon in the game? Because it must be hard, right, to do a sequel of a game if it has multiple options.
Oh yes. What I usually do is just choose one ending that's canonical and work from that. Unfortunately, fortunately, the main storyline is currently fixed, and
Okay.
as this is in the middle, it doesn't really affect the main storyline too much.
Okay, well then it's
Which
good. Yeah, that's
yeah,
smart. I've
yeah.
done that. So because I've seen the 60 achievements, it kind of makes me wonder, like, how long is Relentless Protagonist if for someone who reads the game normally?
Well, of course it depends on how quickly you read, but it's probably anything from 6 to 8 hours. Really, it depends on the route. If you can avoid a fair bit, which would speed things up.
Okay,
But if you go the long route, it will take a lot longer.
interesting. So
Yeah.
so 8 to 10 hours, you said, right?
Yeah, about 6 to 8 hours.
Six
About
to
there.
eight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. So the game, I think right now is around $7 Canadian. So it's it's definitely you get the bang of your buck, and it's quite the long story for sure for a visual novel, which is cool.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I hope people find it interesting. Really.
Definitely. I mean, it must have, right? Because you've been doing a lot of game. I'm sure that you've got a following. I've seen the community on Steam, and I've seen some people talk. So that's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, they're all against Grendel.
It's all about Grendel for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, she's really something. I really like the way you've created her. Like she's really unique, as a character.
Yeah. Yes, you don't really see that sort of person in visual novels, really. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it'd be quite good to introduce someone like that.
Yeah, she's like the comic relief, I'd say, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's right.
Yeah, except crazy.
Yeah.
think what is she called? Oh man, I'm having a blank. But the girl in Suicide Squad in Batman.
Harley
Yeah,
Quinn. Yeah.
yeah, Quinn. Think her, but like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
That's how I feel she is. Like she is. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's right. She's she's a rather dodgy person.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, I just have like a few more questions, but if you have any questions for Nicholas here in the chat, just feel free to put them in, and we'll ask them at the end of the interview. But yeah, for now, let's keep going. So we talked about Relentless Protagonist, but I'd like to know what's next for the WTC series. So I think we kind of already talked a little bit about it. But is the next game already in the work? And I think 3 is the one that you're working on right now, right?
Part 2 and Part 3 are already out on Steam, although sort of a demo. But I'm working on the last of the side stories, which I would like to get out at the end of the year, but we'll see how it goes. Essentially, it's a sort of love story with Grendel's with Grendel really and her boyfriend.
Oh my gosh, Grendel has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is he as nuts as her, or like?
No, essentially she just uses him for his money, whilst he's falling in love with her for some strange reason. So she's using him for his money. He wants to have a relationship.
Oh my gosh.
And various other things are happening in the background as well.
That's crazy. I'm also wondering, with all of these games right now in the series, do you plan on having an ending to the game at some point?
Oh yeah,
okay.
There is an ending. It's not a particularly happy one because it's mainly for 2 reasons. One, I didn't really want to continue or anything like that after the last episode, and 2, because it would be more fitting to the series, really.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. I wonder, what would cause something for the whole series to end, because it could, like, they could have like missions always. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So will we see a new series of visual novel with a completely new story eventually? Do you have any ideas coming up already?
Not from out of the WT series. I have a few ideas, but whether or not I'll actually get around to them or not, I don't know. Mainly due to expense. It's something I can just about afford it to do it for this, but I'm not sure whether it'll be worth it for anything new, really.
Yeah,
so, we'll have to see.
But when you finish the WTC, will you stop making video games, or like are you still interested in continuing?
I must admit, I don't know, to be honest. I'd hope I'd continue making games, but we'll have to see.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully you'll find like a spark of something new to create, and hopefully you'll be able to make some new games. I always wish for developers to make a lot of money with their games, because that's what makes their next game even better, because they can afford doing better visual, better equipment to produce whatever they want to do. So hopefully you can get some good money out of these games.
Yeah, it's not too bad, really. The only downside is that Valve take 30% of monthly. Well, the outgoings anyway. So
Yeah, I bet your plan is to be as rich as Grendel at the end. So we'll call you Grendel Kingsley when you're
yeah,
done.
would be nice. Would be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So I got one last question for you, and it's an interesting one. So, if Grendel's mother would kidnap your parents and force you to work with Grendel, how long do you think you could last before you go insane?
Well, hopefully we'll be working out a way of either rescuing them or working properly with Grendel's mother. I think that'd be the easiest way to stay sane, really.
Yeah, you can try, to stay sane.
Yeah,
Will it work? I don't know.
that's right. As long as you don't think too much about what they're doing, it'll probably be all right.
Yeah, exactly. So from my understanding, Grendel's mother and Grendel herself, they're both rich, but they have their own accounts, right? Like they don't share money.
Oh no. They own practically all the banks in whatever city they're in, but they don't share money. Although they Grendel occasionally borrows money from my mother, so but that's very rare.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I would like to know more about these characters for sure. Like they seem to be very well developed. Like you've put a lot of work on these characters, so definitely want to get some more investment in them.
Yeah, yeah. I think they'll grow on you as you progress, really.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you get us hooked, basically.
Yes, that's right.
So that's all I had for my question, Nicholas. It was super fun. I really enjoyed learning more about the game. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the stream?
Let's see. Well, I think that there's 3 or so different endings to the game. And hopefully the antagonist on this one will be back in the third of the third part of the main story.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of adding her again.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So guys, the game is in my description. The Steam link is in my description below. If you're into Epic, Nicholas is currently trying to get the games on Epic Games, so keep a lookout for that if you're into Epics. And if you'd like to follow the games or what Nicholas does, I also have a link in the Twitter in my description, so definitely give him a follow, have a look, and definitely check it out. So Nicholas, thank you so much for coming in today for the interview. Really appreciate you taking your time. I know it's pretty late, all the way to England, but thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great fun. Thanks.
Thank you. And with that said, guys, thank you very much for watching, and keep a lookout. Next week we'll be doing another interview, and we'll keep going with the interviews for quite some time. So hopefully we get to see you there. Have a good one, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.